All right, Grand Rising, everyone. This is Ron. It is Saturday, the May the 9th, 2026, 10:03 a.m. And before we get started this morning, I just like to make an announcement, say one thing. I don't see her logged on yet, but anyway, I'd like to congratulate Jordan Taylor Cochran. Jordan graduated yesterday, guys, uh, with a degree in mechanical engineering. And just wanted to congratulate her. Let's make sure if you guys get a chance to tell her congratulations, okay?
Okay.
Uh, and with that said, we'll get started. We had Nick and Sheldon on last Monday evening discussing the higher principles of melanin. And if they don't mind, I'd like to ask Nick or Sheldon if they would please to kind of give us a recap of what you discussed, please.
Hello, everyone. This is Sheldon. We uh, basically talked about melanin serving as a prism in a sense for our bodies. It allows our bodies to go through more so of a transformation as we intake a lot of and become more aware of the Akashic records that we are, that we've discussed many times on here. Yes, it will
Sheldon, we
help if
can't hear
anyone
you.
has.
Can you speak up a little bit, please?
Yes, hold on, please.
Thank you.
Can you hear me clearly now?
Yes,
Yes,
much
sir.
better.
Okay. I was saying, what we're talking about one of the principles of melanin as it relates to our bodies, and melanin serving as a prism that allows our bodies to take on light, or in a sense, be a reader of that light or interpreter of the light. Also, that we are in this physical bodies in terms of understanding, experience, insight, and walking more so of who we actually are. And then the other where we actually talked about it was actually as well as a transformation in terms of, in a sense, our further evolvement and development as it relates to being on this earth in our human bodies. And I can, of course, expand on that if there are any, if there are questions, thoughts, or comments.
Okay, thank you. Anyone, any thoughts or questions about that?
I had to step away for a moment, but I want to ask the superpower of melanin. Are you going to speak to that, Mr. Sheldon, Mr. Nick?
Yeah, well, the superpowers were all of those things that we mentioned. So, in terms of, for example, the unbreakableness of the melanin, in terms of being indestructible as it relates to the UV rays, being that of interpreter in the sense of being able to take massive amounts of information and in a sense dissecting that to the point where it's nourishment to the body, serving as a conduit, if you will, or tapping into the Cossack record. And in terms of being the ultimate survivor as well, surviving, predating the existence of this actual Earth as well, and showing evidence of all of that from both the I guess the physical standpoint, and then we went into talking about it in each one of those aspects closer as it relates to the spiritual sense.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Okay.
Okay, Grand Rising family, you do give honor to our ancestors. When I think about superpowers, I'm thinking about when I watch these, what do you call them? Cartoons, or I guess it's a new name for them, but I always call them cartoons. But anyway, I think about the superpowers that they have. Do we have the same type of powers that they have?
Hey everyone. Yes, but not while this body remains in a let's say relatively low state of frequency. So everything that we see in comic books, Marvel movies, superhero movies, those are essentially things that arise up from our collective unconscious in a way, because we remember what is possible in terms of energy and spirit, and we remember what is possible for us to do in when we fully reconnect with and reawaken to and fully know the nature of the conscious self and spirit. So the more we integrate, well, let's say the more we expand our perception and transform the very frequencies of this physical vehicle, the more we can do those things that we would consider supernatural, or that we would see superheroes doing. Because as I spoke about at years ago, back when we were still, I think, in person at Foundation, the word superhero is hero is Heru. Heru is a Neter from Kemet. That's the one with the falcon head. So when you hear about when this concept of the hero is the true power of the spirit or the soul to overcome all the challenges that we face while here in this physical material place of challenge. And when we learn to overcome those things and reincorporate, well, reawaken to the true nature of the self, then those things that superheroes do become things that we do. Because that is the more fundamental and true nature of who and what we are. So, and just as in addition to that, the Marvel movies are an example of let's say a positive in terms of the creative source that they come from, arising within our sort of collective imagination, etc. They are an example of a more positive force. For the most part, the DC movies were created by a more negative force. And I know that there's like a lot to go into. To make it very simple, the Marvel movies are anti-Illuminati. The DC movies were made by the Illuminati. I'm not kidding about this. Except the most recent Superman movie is a shift. The most recent Superman movie is kind of like a reboot of the DC universe a little bit, and it is anti-Illuminati. Remember I said all those, whenever that movie came out, it was last year or something, that movie is one of the most visibly sort of anti-Israel movies that you'll ever see come out of the mainstream. So I think that represents a shift in the way the energies and frequencies are working in the planet, and also in our collective awareness and unconscious sort of awareness of what's going on. and it represents a shift in the positive, or that movie as a cultural product represents a shift that we have made collectively in a positive direction. Anyway, thank you.
I want to say one time, well, no, I was so grounded into the religious doctrine, until I really didn't like the Marvel shows or the comics, because of it's like religion kept us, I guess, confused and not knowing that we could do all those things. And it's like I couldn't relate to them. So to the movies, to the Marvels. So that's why I'm wondering what were the superpowers, and how do we use them now? How does that relate to us now, by us living in this society?
May I address that? I agree wholeheartedly with what Nick was saying, because if you really think about it, Black Panther also came from Marvel. I think that honestly, I do not believe that we should be focusing on what we do to use these superpowers before we can focus on what we should do to use some superpowers, or the powers that are inherent in us. We first have to accept who we are. You will never be able to use them until we embrace who we are. And the obvious question to that is, how do we really embrace who we are? How did we get to where we are in terms of our understandings? When we were doing the research, there came a period of time when we were beginning to be shown things that we did not read in the book, and that's where we are now. So we did not think about forcing any way to understand this. We did not stop and say, well, what do we have to do to understand this? We just kept moving with the desire to understand. And here we are now at a place where we understand a heck of a lot more than we ever have. We also understand a heck of a lot more than what we ever read in a book. And all of it resonates. So if we simply just be who we are, all of these things will happen. If we just be still and know that you are the Creator, know that you're God, know that you're divine, then all of these things will happen in your life. I remember, and some of you remember as well, when I was laying hands on people for healing, and they were being delivered. I never thought about, how am I going to do this? I just started doing it. And I don't know whether I started doing it because something inside of me said, do it. All I know is that I read it. And when I saw it in the Bible, I said, I'm going to do this. And that was it. I never thought about how to do it. It just happened. And I'm saying that when we truly embrace who we are and we stop trying to be who we are, just embrace it, then those things will begin to show up in our lives. Like, you don't think about driving. Once at one time you did, but you don't now. You know that you are a driver. So now you just get in the car and drive. You don't think about the position of your hands on the steering wheel. You don't think about staying between the lines. You just do it because it has become second nature. This has not become second nature to us. Yes, one of the reasons is because of the environment that we live in. The major reason is that the question becomes then, have we truly disrobed ourselves from this inferior complex that we have been inundated with ever since we were in this country. Have we done that? We are just now getting to the place where we are unrobing ourselves from trauma. What was it, 2 weeks ago? We just getting to the place where we're doing that. We've been embracing trauma as opposed to relieving ourselves from trauma. So when we get to the place where those kinds of things are no longer plaguing us, it is then these things begin to happen, and we do not see them usually as they happen. We see them retrospectively, and I truly hope that helps, Evelyn.
Yeah, while you're talking, yes, it resonate what you're saying, and yeah, embrace the now, and just be.
Yes.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Grand Rising, everybody. I just wanted to add something. And I don't know, I was looking back at some of my notes, and I came across this term called Sankofa. I don't know where it came from because I didn't write it down, but maybe George knows. GC. But Sankofa means it means a going back and getting it in terms of memories, in terms of wisdom, in terms of your sense of who you are, in terms of what your real self is, going back and getting that thing. And I think that's what we've been doing in a real sense in the last 6 months, a year. We're rediscovering exactly who we are. And I think this discussion on melanin has really brought that all together for me in terms of the fact that even though we've suffered in trauma all these years, we are so resilient. And if we can let go of some of those things that have caused the trauma, then we can really see, we can turn back and see who we are. So I don't know if anybody else remembers this term, and who can shed a little more light on it, but that's exactly what we've been doing. We've been turning back to our memories, our spiritual memories, that is, and our spiritual wisdom, and just going back and getting it. And I think that's what this has all been about.
I agree with you that it is going back to get it. But another reason that we're struggling to get it is because we're looking for it with our eyes and trying to feel the expression of it with our bodies. I would venture to say that we have not even made the connection between the Bible and us. I don't trust the translation of the Bible. I don't believe in the translation of the Bible, but I do believe in the Bible. I do believe that it was written for us, and we talk about being God. We talk about being Babylonians. We talk about all of these divine things, but we have not made that connection. And that's simply my observation. And when I say made the connection, it says in the beginning God created, right? Elohim created. So have you made that connection if you say you're Elohim? That you created everything that is? that connect. Go through Genesis and see which parts of that connects to you. Every single bit of it. It tells us, it talks about us, and the us of whom it talks about is Elohim. Now we talk about the unicity that we have with the Kemetic priesthood. We talk about the unicity we have with Babylonian spirituality, African spirituality, but we seem to stay away from the Bible when it comes to us. We seem to subconsciously separate the God who we are, as opposed to the words in the book that shows us who we are in terms of being Elohim. And that is certainly a result of our religious upbringing. And when we start talking about ourselves in relationship to the events of the book, we then will have a greater sense of who we are. We then will simply be as those things within us begin to reveal the true nature of who we are. Open our eye and close our eyes so that we can interact that way with each other. Because look at what we talk about. The Audrey, Kathy, Bobby, Barbara, Ron, Nick, Sheldon, all of us, every one of us, have talked about things and still do that we never read. But they're true. So where does it come from? Let's look at our what I want to call this. We have let's look at our resume in the scriptures and see what the resume says. I'm done.
Hey, Roger, everyone. This is Barbara. If I could add something additional to what you both have said relative to the trauma. The trauma is what allowed us to, if we allowed it to, become aware of who we are. So it had its part. I'm not saying that everybody deserves or needs the trauma, but when we allow it to speak to us and make us go back and help us go back and reflect on how much more precious is this revelation, this revealing of who we really are, having gone through the trauma. Thank you.
Thank you. Everything in our lives has been there for a reason. And the reason for it is to open our eye. Ron, you got something?
I did, but I'm okay. Thank you, though. Well, the only thing I was going to say is what you said, your disclaimer when you first started talking about the Bible. Pastor, as we go along, we also learn, and I think you summed it up, but not so much trust the Bible. We have to really pick and choose what we see in it, so it doesn't hold the same place in us that it used to. If you know what I mean, if I'm saying that right, it just.
You're right. It doesn't. And we have not found the place for it yet.
Yeah.
But it doesn't. And we understand why it doesn't hold the same place. However, what I'm saying also is something we've said many, many times. And that is, we have the authority to translate it the way it should have been. When we talk about Jesus been a concept. Everyone you talk to, whether they are in church or not, they will tell you that the Bible is spiritual. Am I correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
However, they don't deal with it like it's spiritual. They deal with Moses like a man walking around, you know? That's physical. That's how our processing of the spiritual aspects, the spiritual nature of what it talks about, what the writings mean. What we have done is held on to the material or the literal understandings of the scriptures, as opposed to holding on to the scriptures the way that we talk about holding on to them. We talk about it being spiritual. We talk about it's not real people. However, to walk away from that subconsciously is more difficult. It's easy to say things with your lips, but to understand them and respond accordingly is not so easy. It takes consistency to do that. It takes desire to do that. And our consistency and our desire has not been 100%, but it's been there enough for us to begin to see beyond religion. Does that resonate?
It does.
So maybe that's where we are now. This not maybe. I take all of that back. We are at a space now where we are beginning to put, for lack of a better term, the meat on the bone. The structure of being of Elohim, we have it. But being Elohim, we don't. So we're beginning now to fill in the blanks. Can you see that?
Yes.
And once
Hello.
we do
Oh,
that,
go ahead.
go ahead, Sheldon. Wait a minute, Sheldon. Was there someone before Sheldon? I thought I heard somebody speak as I had begun to speak. Okay, Sheldon.
I think there's a small disconnect or actually unconscious or intellectual awareness as it relates to what we're talking about and the idea of two different things: being Elohim consciously, but just actually also being Elohim in the same way as actually seeing and understanding and knowing you have a superpower or superpower, excuse me, and actually having the superpowers. Those things that we've been talking about already exist. They have always existed, and there's a role that we've always played in this earth. Is not knowing because that particular thing has been a constant in who we are and not realizing, oh, this is what we were actually doing. I think that is the disconnect about the superpower and trying to see it from a physical standpoint. And I said on the heels of you saying that as a collective, we don't know or we don't accept who we are. It's really we not intellectually accepting who we are. And I was looking at, and then I was thinking to myself, we've been talking about the superpowers all along, and it wasn't that we was going to go and start glowing in a sense, and that's like you said, looking for signs, looking for that. We've already been doing it. So this is not what I'm saying is coming to us. This is what I'm saying has already been taking place from the beginning of who we are. I'm going to try to start there, but all of the superpowers have already been talked about. It's just the not imagine, it's just actually accepting them. They're not coming. They're already there. They've been there. They've always been there. So when we talk about, for example, the element, and the only thing the melanin was doing is it wasn't that we were trying to be melanin. We've always been melanin. In a sense, just going to school to learn intellectually about ourselves. We talked about melanin being the cosmic antenna. We talked about it being a living wire. How does that relate to us, or how is that us? That is us because from the very beginning of this earth, we have brought that spiritual consciousness to that earth. We have absorbed that energy, if you will, served as a joy and infusing this existence with that energy. We talk about as it relates to, for example, the trauma. Exactly what melanin does. It takes something that is very, very destructive and absorbs it, and it gives back or produces or gives in a way where that thing is harmless, and that thing then grows, and in a sense, it actually feeds it. We talk about how the oldness or how ancient, for example, melanin is. We also talked about how, and other things I'm talking about, I'm trying to bridge that gap in our history, in the cable line, et cetera, coming from quote unquote another world, predating that of the earth, in a sense being ancient even in the universe, being creators. All of this stuff that we talked about as we were talking about superpowers, it may have seemed subtle, but is also standing alongside of it's always been the case. And therefore, with it always being the case, I think Nick said it a few days ago about a fish not realizing that it's actually in water because it's the only existence it actually knows. Things that we have done or things that we have always been that we were just never, ever told or brought to our attention, but it's always been the case. Now, the only thing that we're talking about, we had this conversation about the idea or the understanding of the superpower or Elohim. It is just embracing doing that. But it was always the case that we were that. So it's nothing that we actually becoming, in a sense, other than having a more conscious awareness of that which we already are.
I like that.
I'm finished.
I like that. We've seen examples of what we call in superpowers already. First of all, we survived. That's a superpower. We survived. The next thing is the superpower that we have seen in existence is that we live in the street. If you mute your phone, please. Would you make sure your phones are, make sure you are muted. We have seen what our superpowers are able to do. We have communicated without email, without a text, without a public announcement. We have communicated and stayed out of the streets. So that in itself is one of the examples of it. And I wonder how many other examples of it that we have experienced and not really paid it any attention for what it is, even though we've spoken about it.
Pastor, can I make a comment?
Yeah.
If you're finished.
I'm not finished.
Okay. I apologize.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just thinking, the more we talk about the superpowers, just smiling to me, and making someone feel good is a superpower. Showing up for a person when you're not even expecting them to show up when you're going through hard times. And it's like you brighten their day. They're glad to see you. That, to me, that's a superpower as well. So even changing the attitude in a room and people see you walk in, that's a superpower. So the more we talk about that, it's really letting me, it's bringing more meaning to our superpowers that we have. That's all I want to say. Thank you. I apologize again.
But well, based on what you said, I'm glad you spoke, because based on what you said, is that one of the superpowers is forgiveness. We've done that. One of the superpowers rather, is showing up when someone who has done you wrong when they need something, show up for them instead of, I'm not doing that because of what they said about me. We have a tendency to ignore each other as a people simply because something was said that we didn't like. So I do my best to live the life of one who leaves the 99 and go after the one. And it doesn't matter whether the one is a goat or a sheep. The goat needs you more than the sheep does, because the goat is hard-headed. Can you see that, Miss Evans?
Yes, sir. I see it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, you're a goat or a sheep.
Well, I was born under the sign of Capricorn since you said all that, but okay.
And even in what you just said, your blessing is your presence is a blessing. Is that not what we've been talking about in terms of what melanin actually does? Absorbing light, serving as a prism, feeding light. It's literally what we walk around and do is our actual existence.
I have given a lot. Oh, I'm sorry, Shelley.
Go ahead.
No.
Go ahead. It was just when the first. Well, I understood. It was like, okay, I have not done something right. When the first question came, well, when are we going to talk about the superpowers? I was like, we've been talking about this the entire time. So that's what in my head, it was just like making that connection. But every time we come here, or you know what I mean by that, we're talking about this stuff. And the thing that was extremely fascinating to me, is just mind blowing, is that you have this biological substance that is so great and wonderful in terms of its abilities and what it can actually do. More so than any other really substance that we put all this value on, like more so than diamonds and gold and platinum and rare earth minerals, etc., in terms of the purpose and the major purpose that melanin actually serves. But the kicker with that was that, okay, we're just talking about a biological substance, a chemical substance, molecules, but that is who we are. That was never said. That was never said on purpose. That is who we've always been. That's who our ancestors have always been. That's how our ancestors supposedly, quote unquote, just survive, no matter what or how difficult, or the radiation and gamma rays and how destructive. It wasn't that this was just read in a book. The information in terms of what to do and how to navigate certain situations and to turn them good just automatically came. That is the wire we talk about. That is the communion we talk about. Naturally, we have a propensity to actually heal and grow. it's very difficult for us to be destructive. It is very difficult for us to harm. Usually that comes about from a place of very, very low, I would say, frequency and vibration, but because, in a sense, we have been beaten down. But just from a natural standpoint, left alone, that is unnatural, completely unnatural for us. We've always been creators. We're just becoming more conscious in terms of being thoughtful and intentional creators. But again, everything that we're actually talking about, it already is, it already exists. I went on a small tangent there, but yes, Evelyn, your presence is a blessing. That is who you are. In that situation, you are serving as the melanin. You do that spiritually. You've always been that.
Ashe.
The you spoke of. I agree with you, Sheldon. How you said blessing, and I this week I have been pondering that word, blessing. As
I'm glad you say that, because I don't necessarily care for it. I don't know if that's where you're going, but we're going to expand on that so we can expand our understanding of what we're saying as Evelyn is melanin. Sorry if I cut you off. I got a little excited.
Okay.
Melanin, go ahead. Say what you're saying.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm headed in.
Evelyn's presence in the workplace. She, in a sense, is not only just a filter. In a sense, she feeds the people. When we talk about someone being a blessing, we're talking about their souls, without them even necessarily knowing what's taking place, is being fed. She's feeding them in a sense of helping them to go throughout their day. She's passing on goodwill from her and her, if you want to say it, higher energy frequency, because I don't want to say good energy. And then that actually permeates and it goes further. As if superpower, she touches them just by being in their presence with the spark. And that spark, even making them feel good, or when I say be on a higher frequency, be able to understand who they are and not be as destructive, or be more sensitive and in tune with their heart, or able to go and pass that on as well to the next person in terms of like a butterfly effect. But that she starts as the spark in being able to do that. Not only she serves as the spark to be able to do that, but also because of her understanding and who she is as well, she's able to take a lower frequency or whatever and speed it up. Or the light that just her presence in terms of someone having an epiphany. All of a sudden they're drawn to her in the grocery store or something. They're a stranger and they want to actually speak to her, and she's lightened up their day. So, I'm really glad you brought up blessing. I don't even know where you're going, but I want to make this clear just in case. When talking about blessing, I'm not talking about someone coming with some money in their hand and saying, bless you, my dear. I'm talking about in terms of elevating their life and their life experience for them also to walk in and understand a little bit more, experience who and what they actually are. I don't mean anything as it relates to anything physical or financial. I'll finish.
You are good at everything I could say, but thank you.
Well, I don't think about blessing in that terms anymore. But when you said it cute, like, hold on, I'm not conveying exactly what I want to convey, because what I'm actually talking about is so much more than someone saying, "Here go, hey, bless you. Here go $100. Here go $1,000 for you.
Bless you, darling.
Have a good day." It's so much more than that.
A blessing is just like everything else in the scripture. Blessing is spiritual. It speaks to adoration. When it talks about blessing God, it's talking about show adoration for the Creator. That's what it's talking about. Blessing is, as you said, Sheldon, it's not money. I'm not blessed with a house. I'm not blessed with a home. I'm not blessed with anything. I am the blessing. If the scripture talks about bless God, show adoration for God, you are God, you are Elohim, then it's talking about the adoration that's shown for you. Adoration doesn't necessarily mean somebody throwing you a party. When somebody walks up to Kathy, she mentions so many different times in a store and begin to pour out their heart and tell her all their troubles. They are expressing adoration for God, for Elohim, for their Babylonian divinity. They're expressing adoration for that. Why? By virtue of having this sense of being drawn to this, to her, and not understand why or where it came from. That's a form of adoration. So it's not like patting you on your back. It's recognizing who you are. And you respond to them. You are not blessing them. You are the blessing to them. That's who you are. You are the one who is receiving adoration from them. So I add to this, or I reiterate what Sheldon is saying, because I think it's extremely important that we embrace the reality of what this means in terms of scripture. And this is one of the elements that I'll point to when I say that we have to, we have not yet, rather, seen ourselves in the mirror of the scriptures. Everywhere it mentions Elohim. So, anyway, I am appreciative for that.
Yeah, a couple more examples, right quick. I was thinking about what it is in terms of that adoration. In that interaction, that person walks away feeling a little bit lighter. That person walks away, and it came from that moment from feeling a little inspiration, anything. Their day improves. That in itself is more so the adoration of blessing we're talking about. What's really happening is, in that particular moment, is that person's frequency or vibration is increasing, and they are experiencing, not necessarily knowing, but they are experiencing a little bit more of what and who they actually are. They feel lighter, they feel bigger, they're not feeling as in threat as much as they were before, may not as much anxiety, depression, or a fear. Any of those things, that is, in a sense, and even very subtle. They don't even have to know what is happening or why it's happening. I think of Evelyn again, always talking about music. Black music permeates this entire earth. It lifts and elevates, and I believe personally, even through my travels, people who can't even barely speak English, looking at me and marvel and just loving Black music. And I've said this before, I believe what the music actually does is it helps them to experience a part of themselves that they are not as familiar with, and they don't have as much awareness. But the music actually takes them to that place. They can't explain it. They may not really know what it is, but that experience is taking them very, very deep in terms of experiencing themselves than they otherwise do. That is natural. That happens all over the world. It is, some people have a fear of it because, like, hold up, I don't know, I'm not familiar with this and I'm not in control. And others more so embrace it. But that is what we're talking about, the adoration. And in a sense, the adoration of the self, because it is the creator that we are, not just in ourselves, but because we're all a portion of the creator, just like any drop of water is part of the ocean, that is, in a sense, recognizing more so and understanding, walking into and consciously experiencing the creator that we are. I keep feeling like I'm going on a little small tangent. I'll just keep going. I'm done.
You can go off on your little tangents if you want to.
Thank you.
I agree 100%. When Sheldon, when you said that positive influence is the experience of that frequency elevating or rising, that is very correct. The experience of those higher frequencies is one of a greater sense of positivity, harmony, love, connection, etc. And that is when we talk about these natural superpowers that we've been using unconsciously, in a way, is the tip of the iceberg in terms of what you have the ability to consciously pursue as a result of who and what you are. Thank you.
The frequency of the person who is burdened and approaching someone. For example, I'll go back to my example of Kathy and the people in the store. The one who is unloading their burden becomes lighter, which means that they begin to vibrate at a higher frequency. But also, the one who brought the relief, Kathy bringing the relief, also vibrates at a higher frequency. Because in order for her to respond, the way she responds is for her to raise her frequency. And when you raise your frequency, it's simply you responding to questions or responding to people who needs you without even knowing. They come in without knowing what you're going to say. The elevation of the frequency is seen even now. Well, you don't know what's coming out of your mouth next, especially when you're teaching. But you know it's coming. And that's because your frequency has been elevated. And those who are embracing, saying it resonates, so have theirs. Their frequency is matching yours. That's why it's important to raise questions. Because if you don't understand it, what you're being told is your frequency is not there yet because you don't see it. You can't embrace what you don't see. So when you raise the questions and you get a response to your question, whether it is, I don't know, I'll find out for you, or whether it is something that you readily respond with, that in itself is it causes to resonate with you, and that is an elevation of your frequency. All of these things are very, very important to us. I want to, before we get off today, give me about 15 minutes to explain some things that's happening now, so that you won't be caught in a space where your frequency is lowered because of fear. Because I don't think we quite understand a few things that's going on right now. I'm done.
I think what you and Sheldon and Nick just said really describes every interaction that two humans should have.
I agree. They should.
And that's part of the problem, whether or not you're speaking with your boss, your sister, your mother, there should be an elevation of frequency. There should be an exchange of energy that is beneficial to everyone.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, when you do that, that atmosphere is created. You know how you walk into a room and you can feel, oh my God, what's going on type thing?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You walk into a room and you can feel, oh my God, I belong here. You know, this feels good. I'm glad I came type thing.
Yes.
What's happening? What you are experiencing is a level of energy. The frequency of energy is what you're experiencing. If the energy in that room is low frequency because of the people in that room and their conversations are antithetical to who we are, then that's a lower frequency, and you feel uncomfortable being there. And if you engage in conversation with them, and you begin to speak um, based upon the the divine one that you are, then you raise the frequency in that room, and people are not skeptical about being there and not skeptical about what they're hearing anymore because you have altered the energy and changed the whole conversation. And you go, but that worked both ways, you know? So what happens? When
Yeah.
everybody leaves, everybody's gone, somebody walks in that room and they feel good in that room and nobody's in there but them. It's because of what you left in it, the energy.
Wow. I guess consequently, on the other side of it, if I'm understanding, you walk in a place, let's take work for instance, and it's Monday morning and you have this drab feeling because it's Monday morning. And you walk in with low frequency, you can also create the atmosphere that you're expecting.
Yes. I agree. So that tells us what? That regardless of what we are experiencing as a result of the society that we live in or things that have been brought our way, we rise above it because our responsibility, obligation is to raise the frequency of humanity, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I'm done. May I engage you?
On,
Go ahead, Sheldon.
I was just saying quickly, because we keep saying it, speaking of frequencies, and just in case, I just wanted to mention something right quick about that that might help someone's understanding who might be new and not familiar what it is that we're actually talking about. When we talk about lower and higher frequencies, we're talking about kind of like disposition of where a person actually is. So just to give an example, but you can fill it with many things. Someone who would be having, or if I'll use myself example, to have a lower frequency, as Ron just mentioned, walking in the room, I would more so walk in that room, but internally in a personal state, I could be angry, I could be upset, I could be afraid, I could be extremely argumentative. I could even possibly feel like I may want to harm another individual, but is a cutoff really between myself and others where I do not necessarily have their best interests at heart or even care about them. And it could be for many different reasons, but I'm more so also in a survival mode. I have to do whatever it is or hurt or do whatever it is for my mere survival. when we talk about a higher frequency, for example, might be something of me coming in that room, feeling secure, feeling like all the things that I need are taken care of, and in even doing so. And of course, there's many, many, many different, levels within all of this. But being in a space where I can actually give of my self, or I can be open, I can connect with others, I can aid. I may walk in there wanting to see them flourishing. It brings me joy to see that I walk in that room with Ron, and Ron is in a good mood, because I feed off of that in some sense, where that brings me happiness, because in some sense now I am connected to Ron and Ron's well-being, and I can feel the good things that are happening to him. I am more open. I am expanded. Whereas when I was in a lower frequency, and we could talk about this in many different ways, but I just wanted to give a quick little understanding for those who may not be familiar. But if I walk in on that much lower frequency, it's genuinely, honestly, all about Sheldon. And that's all I can see. And Sheldon got to survive. Sheldon has to get Sheldon, in a sense. I need to take care of myself. I don't care if I have to kick Ron over. I couldn't care less about Ron. But just two quick differences as it relates to the frequencies. Oh, one more thing. When we talk about being at a higher frequency, we're also talking about that is what we are here to do, or who we are actually meant to be. It doesn't mean that you beat yourself down at all because you're not in those areas of when we may be at a lower frequency. The whole point of understanding is to grow and to live more in the higher frequencies. But all of this is this is all an experience, a learning experience. It's a growing, it's a process as understanding. In some sense, we are learning how to be better creators in some sense, if you want, it will, in this training ground. But I just wanted to give that small tangent about frequencies. I'm finished. If any thoughts or questions that anyone may have, finished.
That made it very clear. Thank you.
Well, Sheldon, my thought was that that's exactly what happened to us in terms of the first part of walking in the room and just trying to survive. But that's exactly what happened to us being Black in America. We were always kept in survival mode, trying to deal with our trauma. And it was intentional so that we didn't try to pursue who we really are. So yeah, I can see that.
We rose. I say, and still we rose. Maya Angelou without me.
Yes, indeed. Ashe.
And that reminds us that I yield.
I'll just say is a segue into what I want to talk to all of us about in a few moments. Go ahead, Bob.
That reminds us about all of the things that we're seeing being exposed today, like the voter rights stuff and stuff like that, things that are just designed to make us look back and trap us back, where after we've gotten our freedom of spiritual awareness. And we've got to understand that it doesn't matter what it looks like and what it looks like is happening. We've already been freed spiritually, and whatever designs man has to enslave people's minds, it's an illusion for them, not for us. We know the truth. cannot be enslaved. We are free. And so it doesn't matter what they do. It doesn't matter what the Supreme Court does. We just need to do what we do. And we need to continue doing what we do. And putting in the macro, reflecting back to the universe all in head about who we are, and walk in that way. Thanks.
Thank you. You gave the segue, Barbara, you gave the introduction
Can,
to what I want to talk about. Go ahead, George.
yeah, Pastor, before you speak, in reference to superpowers, I just wanted to say as not an example, a reality. I can recall, being in Ron's presence, as we were driving, and Ron, just has a gift for um producing a sound when he sings. And Ron, I not only say this because in your vibration, in your energy, that superpower is one that I can connect to in terms of us being able to appreciate the Homo sapiens sapiens that we are, but moving into that aspect of being a super sapien, in a sense where we can appreciate being in one accord when we talk about energy flow. And so I say it only because when we're operating in that 852 hertz, which basically says it inspires harmony and the return for spiritual order. And I believe that when we are in each other's presence, and I'm talking about everyone that's on the call right now, there's a energy, there's a vibration that's being, sent out in the cosmos. And when we operate on that frequency, even though it may not be said in a way that it may come out, but I think internally, we can appreciate moving from that Homo sapien sapien way of thinking into a higher level of thinking, which is the super sapien sapiens mindset. I just wanted to share those thoughts if that hopefully that resonates, when we talk about music and etc. I'm done.
Thank you, sir.
Before you go, Pastor, I agree with you, George. I think there's something very special about this group of people on this line. And I don't think we can measure the amount of energy that it puts out there in the macro. There's something special about what we do. And I feel it every time we're together. You're absolutely right about that.
Okay. Any comments or questions about that? That is very clear, George. What I wanted to share with you guys, I was debating whether or not I wanted to do it while we were being recorded or not. But it doesn't matter. We'll do it while we're being recorded because others listen. As I began to speak, I noticed that it was 11:11. So I suppose what I'm talking about now, we're entering a gateway or crossing a threshold of pure understanding and a pure desire to be expressive of who we are. When Barbara mentioned the voting thing before the Supreme Court that was gutted, the Voters' Rights Bill that was gutted, I think that this is important because we're about to find out what we're made out of. We are about to find out what we truly believe. From the inception of this group of people in Washington making decisions in what we call the Trump administration, there has been a push against the survival, the functionality, the presence of Black people in this country. And to many people, it has seemed subtle. um, when the push against DEI, the first thing that Trump did was rail against DEI. We paid just no attention because we know who we are, and that does not matter. And there are several things from that point to where we are now with the voting thing. And there are people who are prominent in the Democrat Party who are soliciting us to be in the streets because of this voting rights thing. We have to take the initiative since we have recognized it is the ancestors who have kept us out of the streets without having to make an announcement. It is incumbent upon us to pick it up from there and carry it forward in that this whole thing about gutting voters' rights and gerrymandering the districts. We see it as being something that they're taking away from us, but actually it is not. What is happening is they are being shown that they control nothing. And the reason I say that is because gerrymandering is a political thing. What we deal with are spiritual things. And when you make efforts to gerrymander and to reduce the presence of people in your circle of government, and it fails, that is a deeper indicator of you losing your grip on things, or that you've lost your grip on things. We cannot see this in isolation to what's happening in Iran. Neither can we see it in isolation from this economy. Our presence is dismantling this system as we have talked about. We are not dismantling the system with guns, with demonstrations. We're doing it with desire. And what appears to be negative, what they meant for your bad, we mean for humanity's good. The scriptures say God means for your good. We intend for this to be for the benefit of humanity as opposed to the detriment. And this happens when the people who have been the undergirders of the system begin to suffer. And now what we began to see, not only a dismantling, but at the same time, a restructuring of a system that is beneficial to humanity. And I know that there are those who probably are listening who don't give a rat's butt about what I'm saying because they see it as politics and not spirituality. But that's okay. You have been indoctrinated to believe that. It is necessary for us to understand that none of this stuff is negative. None of it. Your vote has not meant anything anyway. Because we have not experienced any change regardless of who's in office. We have been, the bondage, the methodology of keeping us in bondage changes to become more sophisticated. Right now, we are in a greater bondage from our own people than we are from Europeans. We are in a greater bondage from our own people because our people have not seen the fracture, the fallacies of the system, and they're still trying to maintain it. And people like us who are saying, yeah, go ahead, you vote, but understand something, your vote is always manipulated. That's fine. However, this is not the thing that's going to knock your socks off. This Guardian of the Voters' Rights Bill, it's not going to knock your socks off. The thing that's going to hit our people the most is birthright citizenship, because we see that as being directed towards someone else, directed toward Hispanics who are in the country without documents. That's not it. Has nothing to do with Hispanics. It has nothing to do with people who have overstayed their visas. It has nothing to do with anchor babies. If it had something to do with anchor babies, then Donald Trump, boy Barron, would be out of the country because he's an anchor baby. Donald Trump is an anchor baby. It's not about anchor babies. What's happening right now, the reason it is so so important for us to understand it is I don't want you to be taken, it to hit you, take you off guard, or move you from the spot where you are. What's happening now, what's before the Supreme Court now, is the birthright citizenship. We know that what the Supreme Court says, as Barbara mentioned, has no bearing on us at all. But we put things in the macro so that our people can receive it just like we have received from the ancestors to stay out of the streets. And please bear with me for a few moments. In 1857, the Dred Scott decision was handed down. Dred Scott sued his owner, Sanford, and the Supreme Court ruled something that we hear all the time. They ruled that no black man has the right that any white man is obligated to respect. That's the small part of it. The larger part of it is this, that Missouri is the state where they filed suit, because Missouri was a free state. And Dred Scott had been brought by his owner from Ohio into Missouri, and that's where he sued. The latter part of that ruling was that it is unconstitutional for any state to declare itself a free state. That's what the Supreme Court handed down. And therefore, any owner of people would have the right to go into any state that called itself a free state and take enslaved people or any black person, whether they were free or not, from someplace else. That's what they were doing to immigrants from the Hispanic immigrants. You could have your papers of freedom of being a citizen, you were still picked up. So what does that have to do with us? The 14th Amendment, when the 14th Amendment was passed or accepted or ratified, when the 14th Amendment was ratified, it had nothing to do with Hispanics. It had nothing to do with Europeans. It was only us. It was only people who were previously enslaved. And that amendment says that by being born in this country, you are a citizen. And you say that's immutable. It is not immutable. And to show you what I'm saying is this. The Constitution does not give the Supreme Court or anyone the right to give immunity to a president, regardless of what he does in office. It doesn't do that, but guess what? The Supreme Court gave it to them. The Supreme Court ruled that there's no free state because it's unconstitutional. There is nothing in the Constitution that said a state can't be a free state. Nothing. But they did it. So what am I saying to you? This thing about birthright citizenship has absolutely nothing to do with anyone except us. And if the Supreme Court rules that the executive branch has a right to determine birthright citizenship, who do you think they're going to remove the citizenship from? It's all about rendering a verdict that says that we are not citizens of this country. I put this out there for this reason. If we get caught off guard with this as a people, there's going to be much anger, and a lot of Black folk who are in positions of influence are going to begin to say, that's the last straw. We are not taking it anymore, and bringing us into the street to be slaughtered, bringing us into the street to be put in concentration camps, just as Hispanics are being put in concentration camps. We have to put this in the macro so our people will maintain their strength to stay out of the streets no matter what they do. Keep this in mind. Even if the citizenship is rendered void, there's absolutely nothing going to happen by us getting in the street. Nothing is going to change by us getting in the streets. However, if the Supreme Court does this, it will instigate, it will influence a lot of other people to get in the streets. We don't have to. It will open the eyes of a lot of people who need their eyes open. So we must desire this, what was being said, to become the mantra of our people. Under no circumstances will they do anything that will cause us to get in the streets. Because getting in the streets to demonstrate will be called an uprising, martial law will be instituted. And that's the name of the game. This whole thing about the voting and them having federal troops or soldiers or federal agents around voting booths is illegal. It is antithetical to the law. The law says it cannot happen unless the country has been attacked by an enemy. That's what the law says. But it doesn't matter to them meaning the Trump administration and the Supreme Court. These two working together are the forces that is dismantling the system for the express purpose of a system being put in its place that's going to benefit the whole world. Every system that a European has in place must be destroyed. And do not see anything that's happening as being a negative, because it is not. It is for our benefit. And again, I repeat, what they meant for your bad, God meant for your good. What these people, these Europeans meant for the bad of humanity, we intend this to be for the good of humanity by virtue of them removing themselves, being removed rather from these positions of what they consider to be power. We must embrace the reality that the only power in the earth is divinity. And those who know that they are divine and understand the magnitude of that divinity are the ones who are the only powers in the earth. That is the reason it's important for us to not just say we God, but understand what it means. Not just say we are a Babylonian, not just to say that we are the Memphite priesthood, but understand what that means. It means that there is absolutely no power on this earth that's greater than the power that we are. No powers anywhere on this earth, regardless of what's being done behind the scene. What's done in the dark will be brought to the light. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter about what people like Bill Gates and Bezos want. It does not matter. What they want should not have an effect on us. Who we are will have an effect on them. And the effect that it has on them is dependent upon how they respond to the true nature, the true essence of our divine nature. But there are no positive responses to our divine nature unless we respond positive to who we were created to be, meaning that we have to embrace who we are and have the deepest desire above everything else. Our desire to function, to be, to see who we are, and to be that to humanity, our desire for that must be greater than a desire to eat, a desire to do anything. That has to be our number one desire. And I say it is going to happen without regard to anything else that takes place on this earth. All of the things that are taking place right now, there are dots to be connected that we have not even thought about. One of the dots to be connected is the destruction of Israel. Israel looks like Gaza. That's why you don't hear anything about it. That's why you don't see any pictures about it. No one is recording it because it's illegal to record it. The destruction of Israel is the beginning of a society that is beneficial to humanity. The most dangerous group of people on this earth are the people in Israel. The most dangerous country on earth is Israel, and its destruction speaks volumes about where we are along this journey of deliverance. Being deliverers, we must keep our eye on this journey of deliverance. We are closer than we've ever been to the manifestation of all of it. I'm done. Thank you. Ashe.
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 Ashe. Comments. Thank you all. We done?
I think so.
Okay. See you tomorrow. Any questions, bring them then. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Take care, family. Take care.